Okay, so we'll carry on with the speakers. First speaker is Lauren Werbel, our new award winner.
Thank you. 2 days of rain.
I'm sorry.
Oh, but that's it said so.
I tried to negotiate the weather, but I didn't know with whom.
Regina said last week we have varied weather, and I said that's unusual. My weatherchannel.com site says Frankfurt area miserable, miserable, miserable. But it's been a lovely week nevertheless. One could genuinely ask, does anything the global network does make a difference? Does anything that the activists across Europe investigating and examining do make a difference? Does anything that the journalists and researchers who have studied a lot of communication network and signals intelligence trends, people like Duncan Campbell in England and Eric Schmidt-Inboom here in Germany, do make a difference? Well, I think that we can answer that in the affirmative when we look at the history of the Army Security Agency in Germany and understand the timelines involved. Because in the post-Cold War period, right up until the 1970s, the big action in Germany was out of Augsburg Kaserne, and particularly a huge antenna field at Gablingen, commonly known as the elephant cage. It's the circularly disposed antennas that at the time using a kind of big antenna called the Flare 9. For decades, the Flare 9 was visible to many Germans in the Bavaria area, and no one had the slightest idea what that antenna system was. And even those interested in trying to learn the way military communications networks worked were relatively unaware of this. In fact, it was not until aviation to do stories about a Turkish radar and the German Gablingen facility that President Eisenhower said about Aviation Week, a military contractor publication, that he thought they should all be arrested for treason, just for mere mentioning of these facilities. In the 1970s and 80s, right after Pine Gap was established in Australia, you had several new space bases built which reflected the move to ground-based systems to many space-based support systems. And that is when facilities like Buckley in Colorado and Bad Aibling outside Munich were built. And again, even though these facilities opened up and expanded right around 1980, very few people were aware of them. And when we visited Darmstadt in the late 1990s, we were relatively aware of the way Bad Aibling was divided up in resources, antennas and stand-up antennas, some for the big radomes, etc. But it wasn't until the week before we came that Der Spiegel magazine elected to do a front cover article, and we still found that very few German activists, civil liberties activists or peace activists knew anything about Bad Aibling. But then, when Bad Aibling, they announced that it would be phased out and virtually shut down around the almost immediate, that people were aware that some of the functions would be going here to Darmstadt, some to Menwith Hill. And that was indicative of all the groundwork that had been done by people studying the other global network, the global network of intelligence and communications facilities, and all that work that had been done in the 90s. And because of that, people were relatively real-time aware of all of these things going on, and there wasn't this buffer anything. Now, you notice that most of these kind of bases do not have to be hidden away out in the outback, Pine Gap being an exception, but no one feels they have to hide radomes from anyone because, frankly, the public doesn't really pay very much attention to something right in their midst. At Buckley in Colorado, there is a school and a shopping center on one side, and several military contractors on the other side where intelligence projects are private industry. But there is no sense that anything needs to be sheltered away from the public because the public doesn't pay any attention. And here again, we have shopping centers right nearby. The thing that we see as important is to make sure that people are aware of the worldwide intelligence network. Sometimes with the echelon debate in the European Parliament, things got a little bit sensationalized, and its various support agencies have maintained a global network since the end of the Cold War, and that this network has largely moved to space since about 1975, 1980. Yeah, since the end of the hot war scene. But it's taken place without public knowledge and without public awareness, so that when European Parliament members heard the word echelon in the late 1990s, they say, "What? What do you mean? They're listening to every phone call and email." Well, they've been doing that for decades now. So what we want to make people understand is that on the one hand, this is nothing new, but on the other hand, it should not be hidden in plain sight, as Bill Salzman has always said about Buckley. The radomes can be seen from miles away. It's about time that people from miles away, in their shopping centers, in their malls, in their schools, look at what is going on around them, realize the capabilities in their midst, and become aware 24/7 global intelligence really means. And I think the fact that we are here virtually at a time when functions are moving from Bad Aibling to Darmstadt, August Euler, means that you can't hide things away for decades anymore. Hello, INSCOM, we're here. Thank you.